Last Action Heroclix. Hello, welcome to Last Action Heroclix, doing a roundtable, just going over our results and our experience at the Michigan States over at Eternal Games in Warren, Michigan. I'm Aaron. With me is my brother Jason, also part of Last Action Heroes, and Markus.
Over at Critical Hit Customs. How you doing, guys?
Yeah.
All right. So, why don't we have you start off?
Oh, all right. Well, I didn't have as much time to put in practice as the other gentlemen at the table. And to start off, my first one that I really based my team around was the Danger Room Sabertooth. I just thought he was really cool. And for 45 points, not bad. Difficult to hit. The only downside is he doesn't really inflict too much damage on anybody, but he's great at tying people up. The next piece was Nimrod at 175. Pretty much his running cooperative evaluation of reference data. Pretty much you get a hit on him, you can roll 2d6, and if your roll is higher than theirs, they eat their own damage. Annoying was the goal of my build. Annoying to kill, annoying to hit. I was enjoying it. We had the Danger Room Magneto at, I think, 40 points. 50, sorry. He was mainly for my range and also helping tying things up and throwing people off their game plan. At least that was my goal going out. We had the Knob Mace for 3 points. If a character was hit with a close attack, it gave them a -2 to their attack until my next turn. I equipped that to Danger Room Sabertooth, so you can get up close, hopefully hit them once and render their guy even more difficult to hit mine. We ran the Mudman Pog for 20 points. Super Senses, Shape Change, comes in with an extra life token, and if he does KO someone, then he gains another life token. Again, annoying, difficult, and hard to kill was my game plan.
You had the Start Tower map bonus?
I did have the Start Tower map bonus. I only won map once and it threw off my plan. The other 3 games I ended up with a Crimson Sage flyer with probability, which was wonderful. But yeah, when I did win the map roll, I was like, oh man, okay, so now I gotta roll 1, 3, or 5 and hopefully get Crimson Sage, but I ended up getting Bolt, which Supersonic was not bad.
Yep. Not bad at all.
So my build was based around Onslaught, like many builds, many teams at State.
This is true.
I pulled him the first pre-release with Cassandra Nova, and that was my first like real event at a game store. So I kind of fell in love with him. So I tried many different builds with him before I settled on this one. And I must say thank you to Rick, who faced Onslaught more times than anyone should.
He did get a win in though.
Yes, on camera. So with Onslaught, I needed another attacker, and with the help of Markus and Jeremy, I ended up settling on the Sabertooth with his Charge Blades Flurry, being able to TK him out, and then him going for the big strike, which helped out tremendously in taking down another Onslaught team. From there, it was mainly just support, and I had some support pieces I didn't see any other Onslaughts run, pretty much anyone else run. The first big one was Ensign Crusher at 25 points. He is not only a perplexer, but he gives Onslaught a reroll once per turn on Shape Change or Super Senses. So it just helps make him survive a lot more, because once he's off his first style, he is quite squishy. From there, I went with, which surprised a lot of people, because not a lot of people know about that.
Surprised me in practice. I had no idea who this guy was. He ran him at 50 points, and I could have swore I got him killed. And they said, all right, stop click. I'm like, all right, whatever. You know, he's probably dead after this hit. Hit him again, and then, surprise, another stop click. So for all that, for 50 points, he's a pretty good piece, which makes me look at him now. So excellent piece.
Which made me it was very hard for them to talk me out of moving him down to 25 to fit in another piece. Which the piece that ended up moving down to fit in was Veronica Kale. which seems very innocent, but the one thing my team lacked against the Nimrod teams, against the Juggernaut teams, was a way to get rid of their defensive bonus, so that way when I hit them, I had to hit them once or twice instead of going through all the reducers. And she carries Perplex and Outwit, so she is just there to hide behind, Perplex up, and then come out when I need to take that.
How many points is she?
35.
That is not bad for 35 points.
The other big thing that allowed her to get on my team is she has Sidestep, which doesn't sound like much, but I don't have leadership, and since Onslaught's moving, carrying Mr. Reroll, the Sabretooth and Everk Ross get the other moves. The Sidestep allows her to kind of tag along to enough that when she gets in danger, Onslaught can TK her up.
Never underestimate Sidestep. It's one of my favorite powers, actually. It's fantastic.
Yes, because I noticed the other ones don't have it, and when I got into binds, boy, did I wish they did.
Key positioning helps with that.
So, Ensign Crusher probably gave the most surprises with the reroll. The second one that gave the most surprises with my build is Everk Ross. So, of course, he has the Perplex or the double Perplex, so most of the time my Onslaught was a 21 defense. But if he's adjacent, he gets +1 to range. So for all those that position just out of my range, they actually position just in my range. And they were very shocked to find that I was smacking them or mind controlling
I
them.
think the word is disappointed.
And then the Doom Buggy was added on, also because of Markus and Jeremy. It's the first special terrain I've ever played with, or card I've ever read. So I didn't think much of it until I got to practice with it, and it did amazing work. When I faced wrestling teams or other teams that had the ring, I was able to set it on their side of the ring, so if they wanted to fight in the ring, they had a -1 to attack to start with. If I was going after Juggernauts, then I could put it more back towards me and base my whole team there, especially for my support pieces, because then when he came in and quaked, he's getting -1 to his attack, they're getting +1 to the defense, and a 2-point swing sometimes meant life or death for them. It also helped on Stark Tower map because it opened up line of sight.
Well, the other thing about the Stark Tower map, too, was that if you put it in a certain area, Stark Tower map, they couldn't place their WWE ring in the only place they could put the WWE ring in Stark Tower map. So if Aaron ended up facing me, and he went first and placed that, I'm down 5 points right off the bat because I can't place the terrain over his terrain if he plays first. So it's the only place that WWE ring could probably go in there, and it just created for the Doom Buggy, which I never thought I would use or see after this, and how many I've thrown away or given to Daryl as a joke. I would never thought I would actually say the Doom Buggy was a good piece, but in this format, it really did work.
And then I ran the map bonus for Scroll Camp. So all my opponents got -1 to their defense for TK, Mind Control, and In-Cap.
Onslaught does.
All the free stuff he does, all the perks. I also carried Metal Arena in case I one map roll against Juggernaut. And Galador Promnia?
Gladiator Promenade.
Yeah.
Yep.
Gladiator Promenade.
And I was surprised how many map rolls I won. I won against a theme team. I won against a non-theme team. And then I won against another. I lost map once in the Swiss rounds, which was mind-boggling because I didn't plan on playing on any of my maps. But I did get to negate 2 different wrestling rings. One in top 16 and one in the Swiss.
And like Markus said, being 5 points up right off the bat is not a bad thing,
No.
especially when it hurts their whole game plan.
Especially you don't have to roll dice or do anything.
Yeah.
It's great.
It's like, well, thank you.
Yeah.
So that's my build.
All right, my build. A lot of you, if you check me out on the Critical Hit Customs page, you know I'm a big fan of Avengers and Mystical builds. I first looked at Mystical builds to do something with that, but in this format, there wasn't any good pieces. Blast Mystical builds for being super rare or better pieces to run. So I had to deal with, so I wouldn't fall back and went with Avengers. I play tested a few teams. I had one that was a heavy outwit team, just knowing that in this format, there won't be a lot of protected outwit, other than some power cosmic pieces like Voyager are ones that come with it, like Onslaught. But the way I got around that was using Possessor. It was based around Possessor getting the line of sight saying you can't use protected outwit. So it was Possessor, the Avengers, Black Panther, and the Illuminati, Hulk, Voyager, and Alex Wilder with the Stark Tower map bonus. So I banked, it was all premised on Voyager carrying the Hulk and Possessor because they share keywords with her, and outwitting that, and then TKing the Hulk up or trying to hit hard. But after play testing, I just couldn't seem to get that team to work. So I scrapped that and just went with what I know, which was Avengers. I saw PJ Bolin post a build, and it was just an in-your-face Avengers team, and it was half of what I started with when this format was first announced. It was based around, Voyager, just your free attacks, Voyager, Medusa, and Crystal. I mean, that was the 150 as half my build, and then juggled a lot of stuff around, like the aim whites, and then saw PJ's post and goes, you know what, I like that team. So with that being said, I had Voyager, Medusa, Crystal, the 50-point starter Hulk from the Mighty Thor, aim red, aim white, and both giant girls at 10 points. The WWE ring and 4 ID cards, which were Rusty, Leech, Sprite, and Jubilee, because I figured that energy explosion from 2 of those with all these support pieces and all these other pieces around here, especially with Jubilee's target 2 energy explosion, could hit a lot of these common and uncommon pieces that don't have reducers for 2, and just try and deal with maybe swarm teams, or just take out all your support in 2 turns with them, and a free Quake from Hulk. So that was kind of the idea with that. It's a pretty straightforward in-your-face team, which I like. I like aggressive teams. This one fit that, but surprisingly didn't play it as aggressive as I normally would play teams, and that turned out to be a good difference maker because it helped me get to my first top 16. So that was my team right there, and I did the Stark Tower map bonus, obviously, which the Iron Avengers Assemble was assigned to Crystal. So right off the bat, rolling to see if I get an extra piece out there, hopefully the one with Prob. If not, second game, I just kept rolling 5s to get Bolt out there. That hypersonic precision wasn't a bad piece to get either. So I just like the team a lot. I like the Avengers, and for this format, a +18 team, it's pretty rad.
Never hurts.
No, not at all.
So how'd you do?
I went 2-2 and made top 16 and lost after the first cut of top 16. So my first match, I played a Brotherhood of Mutants Don't Die Tech team, which was Juggernaut at 100, both Danger Room constructs, Amelia Vaught, and Blob.
Yep.
Lost the first game, 0 points to 13. Just out of one bad positioning of a giant girl allowed a Magneto to run and shot Pen Blaster to get her off that, and then 1 ID. So it was a very close match, great match, had a fun match with that. And second game I played just straight up, guy didn't come to mess around, just ran Nimrod and Onslaught at 175, so I had to deal with that. Didn't get Nimrod because the only person attacking Nimrod was the Bolt Pog that I kept generating. So if it got hit and damaged, whatever, it's a Pog, it could be back. Mm-hmm. And won that one. Scored and finally was happy to kill an Onslaught, which is probably my happiest accomplishment of the night, other than the top 16. Third match, I faced an Avengers team that was similar to mine, had Voyager, Medusa, Aim White, the Black Panther and the Illuminati Hulk. That's 125 points with the Blood Axe and both giant girls. And then I think 1 Leech ID. Had a very close match with that where just pieces back and forth, chipping away, and ended up being time where I think it was my team, he scored the 292 to, I think it was 250, which I got some of his team. So it was a very close game. Made that. And then the fourth match, I played a Sinister Syndicate team, which I won 150 to nothing on. And then the top 16 cut, just faced that Brotherhood of Mutants team again. So the big thing was I learned from my mistakes in the first one and learned not to fear Juggernaut so much because, hey, fun fact, if Juggernaut's at 100, for people who read cards probably know this, but for people like me who didn't look at the cards when we could do that now, I fear Juggernaut a little too much in the first round, knowing that if you just hit him once, it knocks him off that invincible and allows him to be outwitted, so you just have an easier time there taking him on, and all it takes is just 1 damage to him. So say a attack from the Living Hair or attack from Crystal. So my top 16 match was not as close in points, but closer playstyle because I came 1 click away from KOing Juggernaut, which would have had me win 140 to 145. So it was that close. It's an important thing. You learn from your mistakes. And hey, I had a great time playing. And I'll be honest, I wasn't a fan when this format first was announced. But man, I had a blast, and I wouldn't mind playing it again. So I guess that was the best thing that everybody, at least I talked to, seemed to agree on, that it was a fun time. So well done.
Now, bringing it into yours, what do you think was the hardest match? Would it be the Brotherhood team for you?
For me, probably just because it's big on point denial, and a Quake is just devastating to this team right off the bat. Because if you look at the pieces that start energy shield, energy shield, energy shield, energy shield, there's no protection from a close attack there. And if a Juggernaut can come in and hit 4 of these for 2, then it makes Medusa a little bit better because she gets combat reflexes there, which came into play during the Sinister Syndicate match. But I mean, right off that, it's these teams. This team specifically isn't a deep dial.
No.
So if one like that happens 2 to 3 times, like half my team's gone by just one other opponent. So that's probably it was probably my toughest match. I mean, I lost to it twice and it knocked me out of top 16. So yeah, I'll agree that that was probably my toughest match of the night, was the Brotherhood Don't Die tag team.
All right. You want me to go next?
I think mine would go quicker.
Okay. Fair enough.
So I ended up going 2-2. I placed 17th, just outside of the top 16 in points. I was about 60 points away.
Roundabouts, yeah. But you won fellowship.
I did win fellowship, so nothing wrong with that. And for my first major competition, I was pretty proud with that.
Yeah.
The first team I went against was WWE. They had the Ring, Eddie Guerrero, which was frightening. I will say the WWE Clicks and Pauper, I won't say overpowered, but man, they are strong.
They are.
They can do so much, and it was scary. So they had Eddie Guerrero, The Rock, and AJ Styles. So the 3 I remember. I'm not sure if there was another one. Not sure. I was lucky enough to hit Eddie Guerrero early, and then use poison to knock him down. I ended up winning that just by killing Guerrero and then holding my pieces back. They were tough to hit. Second match was the Juggernaut No Die team.
Yep.
I had nothing to go against Juggernaut. I had no outwits or anything to perplex down. So it was very difficult. I was aiming at Amelia Vaught as my target originally. And he did a fantastic job of keeping her away from me while putting me in Juggernaut's face. He never went after my Nimrod, though, unfortunately. He ended up taking out my Magneto, and then towards the end, there was nothing I could do. He won that one. He was very nice, though. He helped me out, answered questions. I'm a newer player. Third match, what was that? That was Nimrod and Onslaught. And we both had a similar style of running right head on into each other. See how that works. He ended up taking out my Mudman for 20 points really quick. And pretty much that, it was just positioning for the rest of the match. I couldn't get much done to his Nimrod, and I couldn't really touch his Onslaught. So those were my 2 losses. And then my last match I played against... Oh, now I'm blanking. It's horrible. I was all prepared for this. It was Nebula on a throne, I think.
Okay, yep. The Avengers Infinity Nebula. Yep.
Okay, Avengers Infinity Nebula. It's horrible.
It happens.
Blob. I forget the other pieces.
Yeah, long day.
Yeah.
It's,
but I was able to take out the Blob pretty quick. What was the other ones? And I took, after I took down Blob, then I was able to team up on Nebula, knocked her down, and then I was able to pretty much corral the rest of his team and knock him out on a cleared his whole 300-point team in pretty good time. I would say it was my best match, even though I don't remember most of it. It was a long day for me. The toughest one was going against the Juggernaut No-Die team. That was a very well put together team, and it was piloted very smart. It's well played all together.
It's a good showing.
Yeah.
Our whole group had a pretty good showing.
Yeah, we
This is true.
did fantastic showing.
time.
It was a good time, but yeah, the results looking in there and just seeing guys I play with weekly do so well just had me pumped. I was excited for all these guys, especially these guys being their first tournament. It just blew me away with how well they did. So, well done, both of you.
Thank you.
So my first match was against a really nice guy that just brought a team he liked. A lot of range. It was a Batman, Deathstroke, Skull, Hawkeye, and I ended up winning mackerel on him. And pretty much he couldn't get within range to get to Onslaught, because every time he got close, I would mind control him, attack his own guys, and move him back farther. Everyone else hid behind Onslaught, and Sabretooth stayed in stealth, so he didn't have anyone with improved targeting. So he was just having a tough time altogether hitting my pieces. And when you're stuck out in the middle of a map, not doing anything, Onslaught just can do too much. So I ended up winning that match 300-0. My second match was against, let's see, a Avenger build similar to this, except no Hulk. He ran the Iron Man with hypersonic. He ran the Hawkeye with like that trick arrow where he could see a spot and use that as his shooting
The
spot.
Fast Forces, yeah, the Avengers Fast Forces one.
Which would have worked great because he could have picked a spot within Onslaught's 5, and since that's the spot he's technically shooting from, right, then it would have worked. But he made that the person that did the power action to try and roll the die to generate the Iron Avengers, because he picked that map. He won map roll, so it really negated his effectiveness. But he did get Bolt, so I had Bolt hypersonicking around, I had Iron Man hypersonicking around, and that was probably one of the more difficult matches positioning wise, because that's where I really found out how much I needed sidestep and how much it sucked that she got left behind when I repositioned. And he sent in a Medusa over in one of the corners, laid out the hair, and went to attack. So Medusa couldn't attack, just the hair to take Veronica Kale, and any attack would have killed her. And Onslaught, luckily enough, was able to prob through the buggy, and he missed. So then next turn, she outwitted the energy shield deflections, and Onslaught one-shotted Medusa, took care of that problem, so I was up 50-0. And then from there, I had to worry about positioning so the hypersonics couldn't get to my support pieces. I made the stupendous, excellent choice to mind control both of his giant girls, and then realized colossal difference. I couldn't do anything with them but move one and then attack the other with the other. It was like a wasted turn. So there was a lot of that in positioning, and it ended up ending with me winning 50-0. The next match was against the Wrestling Clicks, WWE. It was Andre the Giant, full point Andre Giant, full point Eddie Guerrero, and full point Macho Man. And even though he was themed, I did win map roll. It took him to the map to take away his ring. And then I was able to set up, because they don't have move and attack. So even though they got the grand entrance to get up, as long as I position out, they have to move in and then try and make their attacks, which allows me to do some kind of damage to try and get them so I can hit them with range, because that's one of the big problems with them, is that first click and the 3 blue clicks.
Yep.
So Onslaught don't like that. But I was able to, I ended up putting all my perplexes into Sabretooth's attack and having him charge up to hit Andre the Giant, because it was up, because that is all elevation on that map, and Andre Giant's got the big boot where if you move and miss a close attack, he kicks you, knocks you back, and you take damage. So I didn't want Sabretooth getting knocked into walls or off cliffs. So I put all the attack in there, had him charge up. He hit both attacks on Andre, and then I could TK him away. And that really, really set the tone for that match, because once Andre the Giant was already halfway down his click, he loses so much movement. It was tough to just get him in the fight. So I was able to win that match. Then my next match was against, let's see, that would be my fourth match was against an Onslaught team, which he had a lot of pieces that I built and played with. He was Onslaught, the Orange Proteus, Big Tony, Leslie Tompkins, Danger Room Mags, Danger Room Sabretooth with the Knob Mace. So I didn't mess with that build, but I did try those pieces in different combinations. And I didn't realize what a benefit Proteus was to putting up walls and an indoor map to protect your support. I couldn't just knock out his support. He also had a Doom Buggy, so we had 2 Doom Buggies out there too. The center of the map was just a death zone. It was like a 4-point swing almost if you got out there and battled it. So we're like circling each other. But I couldn't really get to any of his support pieces because Proteus kept putting up walls, which was very annoying. Veronica Kale again got left behind, and Sabretooth, luckily, he only does 1 damage, and he missed one of his attacks. So on his flurry, he only did 1 click of damage. I was able to outwit his charge and run away. I kept mind control on his Magneto to run back and take pop shots at some of his support pieces. He also had Alex Wilder. But eventually we got to a spot where I was hugging one of the Doom Buggies up on one side. He moved out, and I put all the perplexes into Sabretooth and had TK'd him out and charged him in. And he missed both the shape change roll and his super sense roll. And he was able to, between the 2 attacks on the flurry, take out his Onslaught, and that really just changed the whole tempo of the game because he lost the tempo to his team. So I was able to win that. That gave me the 4-0 undefeated to go into, be number 1 ranked, to go into the top 16. Went in the top 16 and played a really awesome build. It was the Shredder, Eddie Guerrero, it was a
what's her name?
Black Panther click, the lady that once you knock her off, she turns into Malice.
Okay.
Can't think of her name
Yeah,
now.
I can't remember.
It's
I know what you're talking about.
So Eddie has a stop click that he heals from. Then Shredder you can't attack unless you're adjacent or he's the only one left on the board. The Black Panther Wakanda piece, if you KO her, then Malice comes back at her last click dial. So there's a lot of annoying ways that they wouldn't die. He had start tower map. I won map roll, so I negated his ring. And he had Blood Axe, so I was able to move Onslaught out and TK away his Blood Axe to my Sabretooth. And that really set a big uphill challenge for him. His team was really nice. And then I was able to, in the wrestling match, Veronica Kale did knock out Eddie Guerrero.
Ooh.
With her high heel. It was awesome.
Yeah.
But in that match, I mind controlled Crimson Sage to knock, I believe it was Eddie Guerrero, with a crit hit off a cliff to kill him. And then Onslaught knocked the Wakanda piece into a wall to kill. So they didn't get their benefits of the stop click or the click re-emerging. So it was just really an uphill battle for him. I was able to win that. Then I went to the next round and faced the Brotherhood Don't Die team, which is what you played in the first round. And I lost map roll, set up the Doom Buggy back, kept my team huddled around it, and it was a lot of positioning, repositioning. I was able to get a hit on Blob, a mind control on Blob to hit someone else. I really just a lot of back and forth, chipping away. And then finally his Juggernaut came in. I was able to kill his Amelia Voight, so he couldn't use the Mastermind. And then just as time ended, he last move quaked 2 of my support pieces with Juggernaut to knock out Crusher and Everett. I don't know, it was like 55. So Kale and Everett. So I lost 55 to 45. And that was the end of my run. But
Hell of a run.
It was impressive.
Yeah. First tournament, very impressive.
So nervous. Never stopped shaking. Never stopped shaking.
So that's leads me to my first question with you guys being your first tournament here. What was the most difficult thing to deal with as far as teams are just playing with your playing in the tournament, and what was the thing you found most fun about it?
For me, it was the most challenging thing was not getting so tunnel focused. I forgot to roll the shape change with Crusher, so I forgot it twice, technically, and he ended up taking a click of damage in the match. There was a couple other things that I just plumb forgot. I played the team so many times, I just could not remember certain little intricacies, or they attack and I'm like, man, I can't believe you hit that. Go ahead. And then you roll, and afterwards I'm like, oh, I had shape change. They're like, yeah, you did.
Great news is that never gets better.
Right.
It just will always happen. Fun fact: this is like my maybe 6th tournament I've been in, as far as competitive play, and the 3rd match I played where I lost map, I forgot to put out my Crimson Sage Pog because I assumed I got the consolations mixed up. So I'm like, oh, by the way, start of the match, I pick Hulk to get an attack re-rolled against him and attack for his re-roll. And the guy's like,
what?
That's not like your ring's out here.
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, but that's like the Stark Tower map bonus. I just remember he's like, no, that's the rings consolation, bro. I'm like, oh, you're right. And then I realized, start of the game, I don't have my Crimson Sage Pog, which would have been great to have an extra prob in there. So it never goes away.
I did the same thing, trying to announce my map bonus on my map.
Yep.
Yeah.
Like, but you won map. I know, but I swore I wouldn't forget this. So like, that's great, but you still can't use it.
Yep.
I would agree the most difficult thing that I found in the competitive was being nervous and forgetting all the little nuances of my team. Like for Nimrod, at the beginning of each turn, choose a standard attack power for him. Yeah, I missed that quite often. I would attack with, say, like Danger Room Sabretooth and be like, oh, I forgot to call that. It's like, well, there goes half my plan for this turn. And then I'd have to reposition and set up and plan for the next turn, and then I would forget again.
Yep.
And then towards the end, I started getting better at it.
The thing I enjoyed the most were the players. I played Magic, and I think the players, at least at this venue, this event, it was a lot friendlier. Even though it was competitive, it wasn't like this life or death threat.
Yeah, it's not as cutthroat as some of the other.
They were very helpful. They were very complimentary. We talked builds. We were able to joke around, and it was just fun. It was a lot of fun.
I would agree. A lot of the people that I played had a lot more knowledge of the game and the pieces than I did. If I had any questions, they were more than willing to answer. They gave me constructive criticism on my build, some strategy thoughts on going against other teams, moving on. Just overall, it was fun. It was fun to play with these people. It was, like you said, it wasn't cutthroat competitive.
Yeah.
It was you were playing and everyone's having a good time. Overall, I had a great time.
I mean, that's it. That's the thing. That's why I like most about the Clicks community, especially here in Michigan. But it's when you guys go to like nationals and play at Origins and stuff like that. I won nationals, but just going around, it's just a great community where people want to help other people get better, just to up the competition, but also want to see the game grow. We all love the game, and that's just more important. We don't want a new player to come in here and go to one competitive tournament and then be like, oh, I faced all these dudes and they were just real jerks and never come back. We don't want that. So yeah, it's always somebody, hey, you mind, if I take back that perplex in the attack and put it into the damage? You didn't roll dice, whatever. I mean, it's nothing has changed the outcome of the game. We're human, we forget things to go, and that's what I think just the Clicks community is very understanding of. So like no dice have been rolled, the game hasn't been impacted, just don't be a jerk. And the Clicks community does a great job of that, just being a very welcoming community for the game. And I'm glad you guys had a blast, because that was the one thing I hope you guys took out of this, going and seeing that how great the community is. So I'm glad to hear that.
I was also heard a lot of the veteran players weren't too excited about the Pauper format, but as a new player coming in, it was wonderful.
Me, right here. At first, but like I said in the beginning of the video, I changed my mind. It's probably the most fun I've had at a competitive tournament. Surprisingly, for me, I was pleasantly surprised with how much fun I had running Pauper.
And for a new player coming in, you don't have to buy the most expensive modern pieces for the meta. Like, you can get away with like $10 pieces as like the high end of your team. It was easy to put something together. It was great to have feedback from veteran players to help you moving forward with that build. It was just overall a good event, in my opinion.
Right on.
So good job, Eternals.
Yeah.
Great job.
Great
Eternal
job.
Games.
Yep, thanks for having us.
So even though the Last Action Heroclix is a very new channel, we've been putting out some videos, which I've learned the task of editing is very time consuming and steep learning curve. We did post out on not only our site, but Markus was nice enough.
Critical Hit Customs, keep an eye out for it. We'll post this video as well, so check it out and check out their page.
And we put out that since we were doing this, we'd answer any questions. We didn't expect any, but we did get some.
Yeah, we did. We got a few. So over at the, I shared it on the Critical Hit Customs page, and we got a few. And I shared it in the Heroclix International Exchange page, which is just a trade group for, well, you're all Heroclix players, presumably, so you know what that is. So, so we got 3 or 4 questions from Roberto here. He really fired them off in the International Exchange thing. And the first question, I think we kind of covered it, but we'll go over it again. Did you like the popper format for a ROC States event, or would you have it preferred 300 modern constructed? I'll go first answer. Being the veteran player, I do love my 300 modern. That's just what I'm used to, and it's what it's being. So this new format, change is bad. I'm kind of like an old man set in my ways of don't change 300 modern. But then again, after I play a 300 modern event and get my ass kicked at it, I say 300 modern limited is the best. So my opinion means squat. But yeah, I'd prefer it if it's states. I'd still prefer it to be 300 modern and maybe do more regionals, run more regionals and do regionals as popper. I'd be cool with that. So that's for me.
So as like one of the things that was the toughest to figure out were tournaments. What led to what, how to get to what. That the ROC is
The structure
was technically separate. Now they're associated with WizKids, where coming from a Magic background, you could find all the tournaments, the Star City games. They're very big, very easy to find out all the qualifiers, all the steps.
How the ladder goes.
So I just found out about regionals a couple days ago. I didn't know states, regionals. It makes sense now. So I get that. I think if you're going to do popper coming from a new players, I would keep states as popper because it's more a local base. And
I got that reversed, yeah. No.
okay,
Yeah.
okay. I was gonna say making regionals popper.
Yep,
You think
there
you
we
upset
go.
the veterans now?
Yeah.
It's like you did the 300 modern, now go to popper. It's like,
Hey, good thing we could edit.
Right. Not yet.
No. We have it on record. I'm already screwed.
But yeah, I think if you're gonna keep popper around, states is perfectly fine, and then I guess regionals. I don't know. I assume nationals is after regionals. Something like that.
Yeah, you're still asking the wrong.
Oh, okay.
I just know regionals are usually bigger just because they're
So,
regional draws.
I think it helps someone that's hesitant like us that was like, all right, we really enjoy playing. This is highly competitive, but we're able to go there, and it wasn't as mind-blowing as trying to figure out all the other. I mean, there was a few ID cards, but you didn't have to deal with all the stuff at once, and it was a great stepping stone.
I would agree for states, keep it as popper, maybe even draft or move draft up to regionals. Keep that as like more competitive because by that point, did I mess it up?
Our sealed player right here.
Yeah,
I'll play sealed.
You're the sealed guy.
Well, it's going to take a little bit more strategy to put together a team with randomness that you get and do well. So I think popper would be good for states, and then for regionals, you can either do modern or a sealed to break it up the monotony once in a while.
Yeah, that's fair enough. Yeah, I got that totally backwards. You're right, because this popper format, that's the one thing playing it, I realized why it had so much fun is I didn't have to deal with the overwhelming of knowing, hey, I'm going to have to face an Iceman Colossal. I'm going to have to face a Wolverine Cullen. I'm going to have to face that. You still had Colossals and Colossal Retaliation in IDs, but they weren't game-breaking as the one in 300 Modern. So they're nice little intro. It's like competitive modern, 101.
Entry
so
level.
here's how to use special terrain. Like you got a little taste of everything in there. So for a veteran player that likes the 300 Modern like myself, it still had enough to make it appealing to go, knowing I could run the WWE ring or still have a Colossal in there and still maybe do some ID cards. But You know, it wasn't the high end where it did its purpose of, hey, here's a $20 team at most that I could play competitive and have a good time with and still do very well in the tournament.
So before you ask the next question, because I actually met quite a few players there that was their first tournament in addition to ours.
Yeah.
The one guy running the Hawkeye Fast Forces
Yep.
one, that was his first big tournament. We ended up with 26 players.
Yeah.
Is that extraordinary good?
That's actually a really good draw for numbers. The last time, I think last year's states, we did, I can't remember. It's good, but no, for 26 to have a tournament of 26, that's a very solid number. Yes.
Because I didn't notice that until I saw on Facebook when we were sharing some of the stuff. They were like, you had 26 people?
Yeah.
And they were
That's
excited about it,
outstanding.
Yeah.
And then I saw some of the other results where they were getting 12, 13. So, okay.
Again, from my background of playing Magic, like you'd walk into a pre-release or something, a bigger event, you got easily 50 to 60 people.
Yeah.
Then walking into this, and we were like, oh, there's only 26. And
Yeah.
like, is that good?
Yeah, no, it's a very solid numbers for that. So I think, you know, it's a good time to play Heroclix or get into it, which we saw. I think that may be the appeal of it with the WWE reaching a new market.
Yeah.
And just for, you know, for the same reason that Pauper doing what it was supposed to do. Bring in, here's these common and uncommon pieces you probably have already because you bought a few boosters.
Yeah.
And go in there and run the tournament, and you know you're not going to be as disadvantaged as any other player in there because they're applying the same rules, using the same pieces. You did see a lot of similar archetypes. I mean, we did see a lot of onslaughts.
Yeah.
Not as many Nimrods as I expected. I expect there to be a lot more Nimrods. But Avengers was going to be big just because of the versatility and just mass amount of pieces you could choose from in the common and uncommon. And every other set every year is an Avengers set, which I love. And Brian Poling hates, so keep that up, WizKids, because it's amazing. But yeah, I mean, it's just it was great to see that, and I think that could be the great number of 26 people being in there could be credited to the format itself and WWE reaching a new market. So I mean, it's great. It's good to see that many numbers, the high numbers for the states and new people coming in. I've seen a lot of new faces when I was there. I've seen the familiar ones that come, but also a lot of new players. So that's an amazing thing when you're looking at that when it comes down to the game. It's always great to see new people. All right, so Roberto, right off again. Do you like draft picking for prizes? Ooh, this would be a touchy subject for some of the people who were there. So it forced people to stay through to the final match, even if they weren't in top cuts, which made it a long day for those that traveled to attend.
Very long day.
No, I can understand the people that traveled, and it makes it a long day for them. Which what I've seen was that they just left. They knew at that point they probably had the chase or the prime that was going to be left picked, so they just cut their losses, so to speak, and went on. But I mean, to make them do that is still kind of unfair. Like I get it, but I don't know any other way of how you fix that. You're talking to a guy who stays to the end anyway, because usually, humble brag, a teammate is playing in the finals. So to sit there and watch them play and hopefully cheer them on, bring the finals. I already just play battle royals until it's done, so I kill the time. So, but that's just me. So, do you like the draft picking for prizes? Yeah, because it really, to me, it doesn't affect me much because I stay until the end anyway. But then again, Warren's half hour the most my house, so. Again, it's easy for me to get there, but I understand for the people who travel hours to come up.
Like, we rode together. He missed the top 16. I made it and went 2 rounds deep. So he was hanging around. But I don't know of any other prizing system because this was our first event. I thought it was kind of cool because if the people at the top already had, unless there's one extraordinarily expensive one, if they already have all those, there's a chance that a really good piece is going to fall down. So that's really neat. But yeah, I can see where that's a problem because if you only have, I guess it's not as big a deal if you only had 12 people show up, but the larger and larger that they get,
something would have to be fixed.
Because then you have 10, 15, I mean, in this case, there's 10 people you're asking to stay around for all top 8,
for another
top
4
16.
hours or however long.
Yeah.
So there's probably a different way. I don't know what it is.
In my opinion, they would have to come up with a way of once you're knocked out, you get assigned a place right then. I know it was kind of weird with the ROC versus the Win placing because they're quite different. But there would have to be a way for them to be like, all right, you're out. You came in sixth. Here's the sixth place prize, and that would be kind of difficult to do on the format they do it now.
Yeah, it's or unless you have somebody do their homework over at the ROC or WizKids and look at the value of the pieces, because that's pretty much what it's primarily based off of. If I'm going in there, I'm not taking the
if you come in first,
the Atom
not,
or
cheapest,
the Prime Hardak Batman when I know a Gauntlet Panther or Sheriff Strange is going to be up there.
True.
There's a wild case it may happen where somebody pulled 2 Sheriff Stranges and he doesn't have Hardak Batman. And he'll take that, but I think that's very few. Most people are just going to take the most expensive piece to keep and play, or if not, to sell or trade online. So
True.
If it went by, I don't know, maybe, like I said, pricing wise, like here's the 6th most expensive piece is what you get. There you go. Because that's usually, not always, but usually how the drafting goes anyway. Maybe something to think about. Yeah. It's not too bad. All right. We have Roberto again. We see this name a lot. Were there any unique team builds that you were surprised to see that fell out of common Pauper archetypes? So, i.e., Avengers, Onslaught, etc. The unique team, because I didn't even think about it or look at any of the Brotherhood of Mutants one, was one for me. After playing that first round and seeing that, get the general idea of, I knew the constructs. I knew they were don't die, but for the person who didn't look and read through a lot of the X-Men animated series, commons are uncommon. I didn't know anything about Amelia Vaught or Blob, so I knew a little bit about Juggernaut, but I was used to seeing him at 300 points. So to see him at 100 with Amelia, it was a unique build. I liked it. Team symmetry and all that was just, what's the word I'm looking for here? Symmetry. Synergy. That's the word I'm looking for. Team synergy. Was just really well with that the team there. So seeing that one, that was one of the unique builds. I didn't play it, but hearing about the Eddie Guerrero Shredder team one as well.
That one was so fascinating.
Yeah. So I'm guessing I'll leave that to you guys to go with your answers for that one.
Mine was definitely
going to be that one.
Definitely the Shredder team that I faced. I didn't even know that piece existed, so it was a shock to see it, and it's really cool. And then just what he put around it, it was like a different version of a Don't Die team.
Yeah.
Without playing the X-Men animated series pieces, so that was really cool.
I would have to agree. The Shredder team was the most unique that I've seen. But the one that was most unique that I play against was the Brotherhood Don't Die.
Yep. Yeah. All right. So we have Jeremy Walters here. What WWE piece do you think will make the biggest splash? Man, if we're talking Pauper, I don't think there's going to be a single one because we have seen a lot. We've seen Undertaker. We've seen Kane. We've seen Mankind. We've seen Andre. We've seen Shawn Michaels. We take any of the pick of the 18 that came out in that set. And we could say for Pauper, sure, that they're very viable in that. As far as maybe 300 modern go, I'm going to say my boy Eddie Guerrero. You get any kind of steel energy on there for him, he is tricky. I mean, you first shoot, you go at him, you pretty much have to triple tap the guy unless he keeps healing. So that's going to be my pick is Eddie.
Especially with the submission hold, that tying up, like in Pauper, any of the wrestlers can do submission to, put a figure 4 on Onslaught. He's stuck there. He ain't going nowhere. Or mainly because of immobile. I mean, phase teleport, whoop-dee, you're immobile. You're stuck. So that, I could see him because of his prob being, you can prob one or both dies, is very good. And Pauper, Andre the Giant, man, since this is pretty much a close combat, you have your range guys.
Yeah.
But the bulk of the team all need some kind of close combat, especially with the wrestlers in there. That Andre the Giant, to move up and charge in there to take a swing at him and miss.
Was it the big boot?
And get the big boot.
Yeah.
I really want to do that.
Yeah.
Just to be like, oh, that was great. Now I'm going to knock you back.
Yeah.
Yeah. I would say Eddie Guerrero outside of Popper, and possibly Undertaker for like the mystical ability team.
Yeah.
I would say those two would be the top for non-Popper. But in Popper, like you said,
Yeah.
name them,
I
throw
think
them in there.
on an outside, and I haven't looked at his card nor played him. I don't have any of them. But Shawn Michaels being able to tune up the band, keep him back, and then
Mm-hmm.
having some kind of like maybe a double astronomer team with him.
Oh, yeah.
Ooh.
And just let him tune up to
Oh, yeah.
infinity, and then TK,
Yep.
and then just let loose on someone. I could see that being like
That could be
the
interesting.
wrestling vulture.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen him, like, I read his card again. This first time I read it, I'm like, okay, that's pretty cool, but this was before I took a further look at the powers and abilities. And with the sidestep and nimble, I mean, he moves 3 for free
Which is big.
every turn, which, yeah. Even just with just doing that is great. Not only gets a power up from it. So that, when I read that, I'm like, oh man, yeah, that's really good. So, like, all these pieces I'm excited for. So
I guess Austin also could be like the wrestling vulture. Isn't he the one
he
that
stuns everybody.
stuns everyone, including your own guys?
Yeah.
Just keeps.
Classic Attitude Era Stone Cold right there, just stunning everybody as long as you're by him. But no, I really love the WWE, and if I had time to look, like, I'd say give it a month. If States was a month later, I probably would have ran an all WWE team to look more at these powers and abilities and go, and I kind of regret not doing that. But to go back to the question about the unique builds, I didn't see it at our event, but reading it on the International Exchange with all the other states posting theirs, the monster theme team that's built around Onslaught, Kane, and Undertaker, looking at that is just...
That's pretty strong.
Is pretty good.
Yeah, that made me want to re-evaluate. I wish I'd have.
Yeah,
Took a look. I'm very happy with my unique build that I haven't seen anywhere else.
Yep.
So,
But yeah, to just be like, I'm gonna TK a dead man in there. I'm gonna fire up some poles on you.
Oh yeah, yeah. That's that'd probably be the one I'd play test, and maybe if I'd love my Avengers, but man, if we did this again like next month, I would probably run that team or an all WWE team. All right, we have Brian Poling. Oh, boo.
oh.
Firstly, congrats on how well you guys did. So thank you.
Thank you.
Also, since I clearly do not know you or had no questions to add, all right. Also, since I clearly do not know you, which he's lying, and have no reason to ask this question, who are you glad didn't make it to Michigan State's? It's ironic that you asked that, Brian, because it's you.
Seemed like he was fishing.
Yeah, and then he got the answer he was fishing for, so I hope you're happy. You got your 15 seconds of fame, Brian. Congrats. But no, to actually take that seriously, to know, probably from a veteran player, PJ or Maddie, because they're in Indiana and sometimes they make the drive up, who are very outstanding Heroclix players, some of the best in the world. So anytime they stay away and not take my top 16 spot, because I was going 15, I ended up 15 going into that. If either one of those showed up, I probably wasn't going to make top 16. So either one of those two would probably be my answer to that. Both great guys, but just glad you weren't here. All right, we have Roberto with, we have 2 more questions on my end. Roberto again. Oh no, that was the same one. Were there any unique? This was just further scrolling down the comment section here. We have Zach Hooligan. How do you feel about competitive Pauper? At my home venue, Pauper was a popular scenario we played. Do you feel like it's becoming a competitive event? And will it affect normal play? I feel like it's becoming a competitive event. I think we're moving there. I think from when I started playing Heroclix 2 years ago when the Mighty Thor came out, it seemed to be a lot of outside the game elements like ID cards and resources and possessors and all these things were a thing. And now they're slowly drifting away from that. I mean, the only other outside game elements you really have are call-ins, and so which ID cards haven't been out since Xavier's Special School. So I think we're slowly seeing a shift towards it just being what's there in front of you. So it's Colossal in your team, which I'm all for because I love 300 Modern Limited. is probably my favorite event. So if we're shifting more towards that, I'm all for it. But I think we're seeing that with Popper. I think it's becoming a popular event. It will be after this one, just from what I've seen, not only here at our venue, but the general consensus around the Heroclix International Exchange seems to be probably a lot of me at their event, because I didn't like this event, I didn't want it to be states, and then showed up and made a team and be like, man, I had the most fun playing at this competitive event I've had in a long time. Not a lot of stress, a lot of fun play. Dice were just rolling, games were great, all close. There's no seemed to be one dominating team that was going crazy. You have your archetypes that did well. Avengers took a lot, but I mean, Onslaught did well. WWE did well. Freaking WWE. And all WWE team won it. I believe it was Texas. So, I mean, I think you're seeing a shift of it become popular with the WWE being a non-blind buy. And I'm assuming with these new X-Men unpainted sculpts being a non-blind buy, being included in the Popper. I think they're kind of shifting that gear towards Popper being a more popular event just to get more people out, which here at Michigan, it seemed to work. So I think it will, I think it's definitely being, after this round, we'll see it be taken more seriously as a competitive event.
If I didn't play as much as I did because of the schedule, Rick, who took the Onslaught beatings, we have the schedule so that I'm able to play a lot. So we were learning 300 Modern before this was announced, and it took forever to get comfortable with it. As a new player entering, trying to figure out, everyone knows, trying to figure out not only the pieces on the board, but you got to worry about these pieces out here and those giant guys and all the different stuff.
The maps.
And especially coming in new, like I didn't own all the expensive ones because who does when they start? This was a great stepping stone, and I mean, I'm definitely going to be playing 300 Modern, but I think it gives a good stepping stone for many people to enter and play and build up their confidence to be able to play Modern. And I mean, I come from a Magic background. I hate using that, but they have their different tiers. You have your modern, standard, and different ones where different stuff is legal to make it so you fit more people, how people want to play. I think if you keep Popper and you keep Modern, you got two different ways to play it, and you just bring people into Popper, and when they're ready, it's almost like the minor leagues of Modern.
Yeah, there's nothing to lose really with it becoming a format, because if you gain people and dislike Popper and take that next step into the 300 Modern, great, now you have more Modern players. If you don't, you're still having people are coming around to play Popper. So it's completely changed my opinion of this format from going in to just because it hindered a little bit of creative team builds, when really you look at it the grand scheme now, it didn't, because there was still, I was just being stubborn about stuck with one team and only thinking Onslaught was going to dominate this whole thing, and it just seemed like Unimind all over when I started playing in the Mighty Thor, because that's all it was just Unimind, and One Arm Ollie call it ID. Is just ridiculous seeing that. But now with the Popper, I mean, like I said, there's Onslaught, there's Nimrods, there's Avengers, freaking Juggernaut, WWE. WWE, think about that, WWE. Winning events here. So I loved it. So I'll change 100%. A real man admits when he's wrong. I was wrong about Popper. It was a good time.
It's kind of right on the coattails, and combine the two. You got veteran players saying it's not as diehard competitive and it's more fun again.
Yeah.
I would say. And you're like, yeah, this is fun. You can make fun, crazy builds if you want to. You still have your competitive theme teams. And then as a new player coming in, you're like, oh, this is way easier than going like, all right, so I got to buy a Tri-Sentinel. I got to buy all this expensive pieces to get into the 300 Modern. Like, again, you buy the cheap things that you're like, I want a tent pole around Nimrod. Sweet. He's not expensive. You go in, you have a great time. Everyone's, and I think that's it. It's the energy of the gameplay is fun, and it keeps you coming back. So I think it'll have some legs and stick around.
Yeah, for sure. And I think just to continue on that, the reason why I like it is because, I mean, these were the only colossal retaliations you've really seen in the game. Other than that, maybe Proteus. And they're hitting for 2 and for 3. That's, I mean, okay, the Hulk's going to hit you, whatever, imperv. You're not doing anything to me, opposing one. So there was really no not people weren't as afraid in 300 modern to go out there and make an attack as they are in 300 modern because there's an asserter sitting across the table who's going to say you don't get to use any defensive powers. So now I don't want to make an attack. So there are just more attacks, more dice rolling. People are getting in, and there's still strategy. Don't get me wrong. There's a lot of strategy, but there seemed to be more attacks, faster pace to the game, and just like I said, overall fun because it was almost nearly. What you saw in front of you was what you're playing against. Sans the few colossals jumping the board and a few call-ins that were like
situational.
Okay, yeah, in this format, Leech was pretty good because everybody could probably be outwitted in this format. And,
well, not everybody.
Not everybody. Yeah. There are a few, like I said, but for a good majority, like my team, my whole team, Leech could have just crippled my whole team if he came out at the right time and right placement. But it just didn't have that fear or hesitation of making a move because, like I said, there's a Surtur or there's a Tri-Sentinel Pulse Wave, or there's now I'm on you're on my half of the map, so now I got to worry about Super Air Wolverine coming in to charge Flurry with that. So I think it was still competitive, but not as cutthroat as 300 modern is, which allowed it to be fun. It was a good intro into the competitive scene and just fun pieces that everybody had access to and have a good time with. So it was great.
That's all the questions we had? Awesome.
That's all the ones I had, yep.
That's awesome.
Yeah, no, it was great questions. Thanks for the questions, guys.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for everything. Thank you for watching.
Yep.
Thank you for following us. Make sure you check out
Critical Hit Customs and Last Action Heroclix here. CHC will be posting this video on their page so you can check it out and definitely give these guys a follow. I play with these guys weekly. They're great dudes, and what they're doing here on this page is an amazing thing, and it's fun, especially if you're just getting into it too, or for veteran players who want to come watch and maybe get a joy out of seeing other people grow and learn the game, which is still cool. So it's good for the game. So let's help these guys out. Check out our page. We'll share it and give these guys a like and watch their videos and support them.
Yep.
Thanks for having me, guys. It was a good time
Thank you
here.
for coming
Absolutely
on.
great discussion. Yeah.
All right.
All right. See you guys.